Hi there. This is a heads up that exterior filming on House of the Dragon Season 2 begins tomorrow, which means we're going to get a lot of spy photos out of this, leading to a big burst in online activity and analysis of those. So from this point on, check back frequently. Well, Season 2 filming technically began 1 month ago on April 12th, but it must have just been interior filming the past 4 weeks, because we haven't had any spy photos since then. Not a shred of information. There has been nothing to report on. Must have all been interior stuff. In contrast, we've had this date marked off on our calendars for a while, because starting tomorrow is when they're officially shutting down Caceres, Spain, for a full week to film there. Caceres, the real-life stand-in for the streets of King's Landing. Filming there starts tomorrow and will continue through next Thursday, May 25th. And it's great when they film in a major city like this for two reasons. First, it's a city, so it's difficult to close off everything. Even when they close the streets, there's ways to sneak through the alleys, and there's only so many ways you can, throw a tarp over something, block it off, block spy drones, as opposed to when they're filming out in the middle of a national park where they can really close off the set to any foot traffic. We can usually sneak people a lot closer when they're filming in a city. And second, they have to announce weeks in advance when they're filming there, so we know the date. Because they have to announce all of the local businesses need to shut down from this date to this date. When they're filming in a national park, we have no idea. We just stumble onto it. For Season 1, Cornwall, we had no idea they were filming there until people literally stumbled into it. Tourists on the beaches of Cornwall were just posting iPhone pics saying, "I was out at the beach today and I saw these trucks. I think they're filming the Game of Thrones prequel here." Like there was no announcement because it's the middle of a national park. So this is Caceres week. We've been looking forward to this. This is when the first real burst of Season 2 spy reports will come out. Now, all that discussion about national parks and stuff leads into the second of two major sections in this video, moving on from the Caceres stuff. A month or two ago, I made a video reporting there were rumors of a new filming location for Season 2, which would be Wales, in the UK. Specifically the north of Wales, in Snowdonia National Park, and nearby Anglesey Island. It doesn't look like an island. If you zoom in, there's this narrow inlet. It's technically an island. So northern Wales, we heard, would be a location that there were spy reporters saying there's location scouts going around here. It was a bit harder to figure that out because it's not like when they announce, hey, we need to shut down a city for a week. We didn't know exactly where they were filming in Snowdonia, but people managed to narrow it down. That in the past week, a new set of spy photos have come out revealing some of the locations they're filming at in Wales, and even quite a bit of construction they're doing. That there's these two quarries in northern Wales, about a half-hour drive apart from each other. The first and primary one, which most of this is what I'm going to be talking about, is Treffer Quarry. There were just spy photos showing them building things on a very large scale there. Not just like a shed or something up in the mountains. Like, they are building full-scale castle walls at this quarry. This is going to be a major location, a major set piece. Relative to the energy they're expending into it, this wouldn't be something you only see in passing for one episode. And combine this with other news we've heard, that even though it looks like an impressive castle wall from a distance right now, we've heard that filming in Wales is going to last from mid-June to mid-July. So whatever they're building there isn't even finished. It's going to be a full month of heavy construction on this thing before it's done. That this is a large complex they are building. It is a month away from even being finished. So when you build something on that scale, it must be a major battle scene. Because, particularly when we're talking about Ryan Condal compared to Game of Thrones with Benioff and Weiss, Condal demonstrated in House of the Dragon Season 1 that he is really responsible about, weighing and triaging the cost benefit of actually building something as a fully realized exterior or even interior set. Tell me in the comments, mouth off about this. Remember the absurdity of Game of Thrones, particularly by Season 8? It was always a problem. Season 8, it reached new heights, where it was like this dark satire. They were building fully realized exterior sets and interiors that they knew the camera would never see. I mean, a fully realized King's Landing street set with 17 alleyways. Like when you look at the behind the scenes things, them cheerfully going, there's 17 alleyways with fully furnished shops that we know the camera will never go into this building. You're wasting time and money, and there's someone whose sole job was to furnish a shop that they never went into, and that they're slowly working on it for 7 months. And that crazy behind the scenes documentary they did. Or a fully realized Winterfell set. Not just for, okay, well, there's a big battle there, you'd need castle walls. I mean, they built at Winterfell for Season 8 a functional bakery and brewery. Both the exterior of it and an interior. It was a working bakery on a large scale to feed a whole castle. And it never appears on camera for a single frame. And only by the end of the shoot do, the people who are really behind the camera, like the Deborah Riley production designer people, start realizing how absurd this was. The extras were unaware because they're not behind the camera. They don't know what's going on. But some of the builders, the people really higher up, the points where Deborah Riley is really freaking out that this schedule is absurd, and a lot of the things that they made us build in retrospect we didn't need. That you could have easily streamlined this. This was just poor planning. It was always going to be big, but too big. But post, if you remember this in the comments, I'm going to link to it. There's this crazy clip from the Blu-ray commentary where Dave Hill was the writer they left holding the bag, actually on set, overseeing all of this. And he's utterly oblivious. He's not a real screenwriter, by the way, and he's basically taunting Deborah Riley they're in the commentary together. The point where he points out for the Season 8 premiere, ha ha, there's the Winter Town, the town outside of Winterfell, only appears for 3 seconds. You might not know this, everyone listening to the commentary. We spent millions of dollars and many days of finite production time, Deborah Riley's team, building those medieval town buildings. And it's on screen for 3 seconds. We could have easily done it as a matte painting or CGI, but damn it, we wanted it to be real. Ha ha, we wasted your time, Deborah. And it's like, what? You're on microphone with her now, and that she is passive-aggressively, yeah, Dave, you made us do that. Wow, and the points where she's trying to goad him, he is utterly oblivious. She actually goads him into saying really stupid things by just going, wow, Dave, that sounds like a lot of work. You did plan this out, did you? No. That, you can tell when someone who's suffering under an idiot is leading, and I'm stunned that he would just walk into things where she'd ask leading questions and he'd admit that other thing, oh, we didn't need to build a fully realized Winterfell, we just did. That this is recording a month after it all aired, that this was a disaster. Why did you... And I think the answer must be, apart from stupidity, they were showing off to VIPs who they'd invite to set, like when they invited George Lucas to set, was around the time they thought that they'd be doing Star Wars, or other actors that they'd invite, like, I know Saoirse Ronan, a couple of major known actors and movie producers they'd invite to set to show them, look at the sheer scale of what we're building. I seriously think they were showing off the money that they had been given a blank check for, to boost their own profile with people they gave tours for. It didn't matter if it appeared on camera or not. That, and they had no idea what they were doing, because then the same people would turn around and go, oh, we didn't have the time or money to put the direwolves in this season that much. And it's like, the money you put into the Wintertown is money that could have gone to Ghost. Like, what the hell? And I wish someone had confronted that directly. The same commentary later on, they go, we ran out of money for that. When they're boasting about other things they built and they didn't need. Total contrast to that, House of the Dragon Season 1. Condell played this. I'm going to make more videos about this. It was in that behind-the-scenes book. There's a whole chapter on the virtual set and the triage system of why did we decide to, case in point, Storm's End only appears as a virtual set. So I'm going to make a separate video on that. They actually have a process of what do we decide to make as a fully realized thing, what don't we? And something only gets a fully realized exterior if you're really using the exterior for a battle. Like, that's the first thing to go, to just get a matte painting. Even then, like, you usually get, like, an interior for something. So, Storm's End, they said it appears in 2 episodes. It'll never appear again for years. Not that the Baratheons won't appear again. They come to other places. They just said it wasn't worth even building an interior. So, the throne room of Storm's End is just a throne and the chair and nothing else. It's all green screen. I liked what Claire Kilner came up with. Of people go, why are there so many dead leaves on the floor? They said it tricks you into thinking it's real if we have fans blowing leaves around to make it look dirty. Because a virtual set, you think it looks like fake, it looks pristine. If we put junk around and blowing around in the wind, it makes it look more real. And again, I didn't realize at first it was a virtual set for a minute or two, so yeah, that worked. That just, we didn't need Storm's End. Imagine if Benioff and Weiss were making Season 1, they would have insisted on a fully realized exterior for, like, the one shot of Luke arriving in the courtyard. It's mostly CGI dragons anyway. It's so short, you don't need that. They don't even need the interior. So, there's been speculation after all this spy photos. They're building some big castle walls there. What could this be for Season 2 at Trevor Quarry? Some wonder, is this showing Winterfell or the Eyrie from when Jace is going to visit those places in Season 2? I seriously doubt it's the Eyrie, because even Game of Thrones, despite everything that happened, never made an Eyrie exterior. It was always a matte painting, and it didn't need to be more than a matte painting. They had a really nice interior throne room for the Eyrie in the Vale, don't get me wrong. I really hope they reuse that. I like the spiral staircase and everything, and I hope they, boxed it up and they're going to rebuild it or something, who knows. But then again, they could go, for the amount of we're going to use it, they could just, digitally recreate that throne room and then make a new private study where they have most of the Jane Eyre conversations because it's cheaper. I wouldn't mind. It doesn't justify having that many scenes in it. Winterfell, you would see slightly more of, in terms of the amount that Jace goes and talks about things, but even then, I think they might, on the fence, they might think it's worth making an interior for Winterfell. An exterior, like castle walls, why go through the trouble? It's not near the front lines of the war, there's no battles there. Not to say the Starks aren't in it a lot, that the Stark army comes south, like exactly the way that Robb Stark came south in Game of Thrones Season 2, it's just you didn't really need... Winterfell Castle wasn't part of his storyline, really, physically. So you could, have Cregan and other Northerners in this and without showing Winterfell for a long time. That's fine. That it wouldn't just... From how they handled showing Storm's End, this doesn't justify the expense of building a fully realized Winterfell on this scale. Maybe a wall or a courtyard. Maybe if we saw... when we see spy photos from Leavesden's backlot, the huge backlot at Leavesden Studios, where there's a castle courtyard, not a full castle, but there's a weirwood in it. That might be Winterfell or something. That this is something so big that they couldn't fit it in the giant Leavesden Studios backlot, that they had to go to a quarry in Wales to do this. No, this couldn't be Winterfell. This must be where a major action scene is being filmed. So I think that narrows it down to either Harrenhal, and we've seen other, the casting updates for Harrenhal characters, or Rook's Rest, which I think is going to be the big battle used as the stopping point for Season 2, now that they've split it in half. Yet another possibility, which I now think is most likely, is that this is going to be what's called a modular set, reused for multiple different castles. That it's Harrenhal and Rook's Rest. And next season it could be Bitterbridge. I mean, think about it, architecture-wise, unless it's a really unique castle, like a Valyrian-style castle like Dragonstone or maybe Driftmark, something really fancy, or the Red Keep, when it's just generic vassal-level lords in the middle of the Riverlands and the Reach, like Bitterbridge, even Raventree Hall, even, a castle wall is a castle wall. And, like, obviously the interior keep for, like, Raventree Hall, they could, make fancier, put in a CGI weirwood and stuff. But this is a generic castle wall that will be used for siege scenes in multiple different battles. What I remembered is Game of Thrones also would reuse locations and sets multiple times, modular stuff like, case in point, Northern Ireland, Castle Ward. The grounds of the castle were used for most of generic field in the middle of Westeros. The core regions of Westeros, not the deserts of Dorne or the moors of the north. I mean, like, somewhere in the Reach or Riverlands, here's a field. Or the forest parts of Castle Ward, and here's a generic forest. They reuse it for multiple different forests and fields. They didn't just have a different one for every location. And more importantly, Maghermorn Quarry, where they built Castle Black since Season 1, they would make other things in Maghermorn Quarry because they could control the environment. Like, all of Hardhome was filmed at Maghermorn Quarry. They redressed it for that. They rebuilt new things. It's more, it's a log stockade. It's not a big thing. In short, I think on a scale of years going forward, like, this would say hello to the new Maghermorn Quarry. Treffer Quarry is going to be the new Maghermorn Quarry on the scale of the next decade. The modular location which they build new and different things and redress things at for big castle siege for action and stuff, things they couldn't fit in Leavesden Studios. That is what I think is going on. And it could be both Harrenhal and Rook's Rest, or bits of it. Obviously, there's, like, multiple sets that they intercut with the magic of film editing. It's like certain shots of the Battle of Rook's Rest will be at here. Other shots will be from a soundstage in Leavesden Studios or a backlot, and then they intercut them depending on different parts of the castle. But all the big stuff, they really can't fit in the studio. They're going to film there. I said there were two quarries. The big one is Treffer, because we've seen them making big sets there. Second one is about half an hour's drive east of that. It's called Dinnerwig Quarry. I think that, depending on how you transliterate from the Welsh, it's sometimes it's spelled with a G at the end, sometimes with a C at the end. That, just like in the past 2 days, we've heard there's location scouts going around Dinnerwig Quarry as well. They're not building things now. If they didn't start building now, they're not going to. But when you look at shots of this quarry, just the way that they were excavating from the rock from it, it looks really volcanic. Which leads to the logical speculation, is this the sides of the Dragonmont, the active volcano on Dragonstone Island? It looks like it's a better Dragonstone exterior. We saw this briefly in Season 1. In Episode 8, when Daemon goes into the insides of the tunnels that the dragons dig into the side of the volcano to retrieve a pile of dragon eggs. And there is that sweeping shot, but it's pure CGI, of going from the castle to the volcano, seeing him, then they cut to him inside, and you don't really see him walking through a field of volcanic rock or anything. This looks, I wouldn't say it looks like the Giant's Stair in Iceland, but it looks like volcanic glass. It looks like it's made of obsidian almost, depending on the shot. So, logical assumption is maybe this will be used for the sowing of the dragon seeds. Maybe. I caution that, though. We don't know if they're going to have one big scene at the end of Season 2 where they have the dragon seeds, or if they're going to split that into multiple episodes as a subplot, a running subplot across multiple episodes. Minor spoilers, spoiler-free here. Remember at the end of Season 1 where they said, well, Daemon's listing off the checklist of how many dragons they have, and he says, well, there's 6 riderless ones, and she says, every Targaryen of the blood already has a dragon. or like, Rhaena doesn't, but we don't have 6 more Targaryens to claim 6 dragons. And, well, all of the legitimate ones have dragons. What about illegitimate ones? So they put out this open call for Targaryen bastards, not just Targaryen bastards, but like grandsons or great-grandsons who don't know their great-grandfather go, I think my great-grandfather was a Targaryen bastard, but like they look Valyrian, they have silver hair. Because they've been ruling Dragonstone for hundreds of years. They go, if anyone thinks you have even a drop of Targaryen blood in you from your grandfather was a bastard, try your luck at bonding with the dragon and we'll let you keep it and make you a lord because we need more dragon riders. I don't know if they're going to do that as one big scene. I wouldn't, actually. Like, imagine, because they set it up in the finale. What if, like, in the first episode, you have Daemon walking some silver-haired grandsons of bastards across this field of what looks like volcanic ground, it's really a quarry, up to, like, Vermithor, and they say it's the side of the Dragonmont, and all of them to the last one get roasted alive. And this is like a running subplot, like 2 minutes of every episode is them more bastards trying their luck and failing. And even then, like Nettles, one of the bastards is a girl called Nettles. She realizes that one of the wild dragons, the only way you don't run right up to a wild animal. She gradually leaves sheep out for him. That she's smart. She realizes just gradually get him more used to my presence. Every time I leave a slain sheep out for him, stand a few more paces closer than last time. It takes her weeks to get him used enough to her presence to safely try to ride him, and she does. So I think the way to show passage of time like that is do it in more than one episode. So I don't know if it's going to be one big scene or a series of scenes. Might be filmed at Dinnerwick, but then again, maybe it doesn't involve them at all. Maybe it's just the side of the mountain where Bela is training to ride with her dragon Moondancer, for example. We don't know. It would be speculation to say more than that, but there's this other quarry they've been looking at that looks kind of volcanic. I think it's the exteriors of Dragonstone's volcano. But even then, like, so much of that would be CGI. The big one we're looking at is Treffer Quarry is the new Magramorn. And just, you would think, I really hope that we need all of our spy reporters, if you live in Wales, if you live in the northern half of Wales, descend on Treffer Quarry, get your spy drones out there, and you'd think that Wales would have the infrastructure in place to keep tabs on all of the quarries for sci-fi fantasy filming because of Doctor Who. Like, every third abandoned quarry in Wales has been an alien planet on Doctor Who at one point or another. Matt Smith probably knows them well. So I have to look that up. Have they used this in Doctor Who before? So these are the main spy photo locations we're getting. For the next week, it's Caceres. We'll be getting a lot of stuff from that. But next month, by late June, a lot of the big battle stuff will be coming out of Treffer Quarry. It's the new Magramorn. Just as for a decade we were always sending spy reporters out to see what's going on at Castle Black, now this is the new spot. So please, like and subscribe. Check back on like an hourly basis for the next week, because this is when, relative to in terms of spoilers per minute, spoilers per hour, bang for your buck, we are going to be getting a high value of spy photos for the next 7 days. After that, when it comes to, action scenes and stuff that's spread out over a month, not as much, but there's going to be a high volume of stuff for the next week. Check back frequently. Things are turning on again.